What's up? What's up? What's going on, everybody? How are you doing out there this Wednesday evening, May the 11th? I hope that you're having a fantastic week. We in that mountain made it to hump day. This is one of my favorite times of the week because I know when I make it through this time, I got the week on the run. And so I've been away for a little while. I was on vacation last week in New York City visiting family members. It was great to see family, I must say, and I don't always have an opportunity to feel that way. My mom, who's 86 years old, it was fantastic seeing her, to be able to kiss my mom, be there in the flesh, and it just enjoyed every part of seeing family. And of course, seeing my big head sister Sherry, love her, my favorite sister. It couldn't have went better in that regard. On the flip side, I end up dealing with some health issues, which by the time I got home, I am still dealing with, but I didn't want to miss the show tonight. And so I'm here with you guys. I'm glad you're here with me. Thank you for being a part of the fan base for Real Talk for Real Men. We've been doing this for a long time. And if you haven't noticed, you can find us now as part of the TFG platform of shows. So subscribe to us. Go to TFG TV on YouTube or Facebook and subscribe. That way you'll get notifications every time we go live with everything we do. Let me bring in my co-host, Miss Tasha Mack from Memphis, Tennessee. What's going on, McMack?
What's going on, Black? How are you?
I am making it, baby. I'm on pain meds, so I ain't feeling no pain right now. How you
Can
doing?
you, I'm good. Can you hear me okay? Is it too echoey?
You sound fantastic and you look even better. So
Oh, well,
great to
thank
see
you.
you. Yes,
Absolutely.
ma'am. Fantastic. So thank you for being here, sweetie. It may just be you and I today. What's
Okay.
going on, Jenny from the block? You know you're always welcome. And I'll extend that invitation to anybody who want to come on the show. We welcome anybody. All opinions are welcomed here. We always have a motto here at Real Talk. We'll agree to disagree without being disagreeable. And so we welcome all opinions. I love it. So I've already posted into the screen the link to the show. Anybody want to come on, you're more than welcome. So let's get this thing cracking. As always, I like to always tell the audience what what my mind was going through when I decided to come up with my topics. And before we even go into that, I want to give a special shout out to my brother Kenny.
Mm.
He's going through some things right now. So, brother Kenny, wherever you are, my brother, we love you. We miss you. He's for all of you out there. Please hold him up in your prayers. Because he's going through some things right now, like everybody. And so, this is kind of what prompted me to do this show. On Monday, I was on TFG Tonight with Brenton Haynes. We had Sister Devin, myself, and we came across a topic on there that I wanted to talk more about. Life is not always going to be rosy, and it's not always going to be about the happy times. And I don't know if you guys out here are familiar with a young lady named Arlena Miller. Arlena Miller was a promising college student, and she actually wrote a heartbreaking message on Instagram literally minutes before she committed suicide. And that got me to thinking about where we are in this place of a time where young people are choosing to end their lives, because this is supposed to be the generation that has all the advantages. Their motto, for God's sake, is YOLO. You only live once. And yet, in many ways, this is the generation that have the harder time coping with life. And so, Tasha, what do you think about this when the topic is scrolling across the screen, that for a lot of people, why giving up on life is a choice, especially for our young people? What do you think about that?
Like when I first saw the topic, that's the first thing that came to my mind. So I'm glad that, like I was on the right page with that. But it's troubling when you read that. Like why giving up on life is a choice for our young. It makes you call into question a lot of things, but then there's so many things you have to consider: their age, what they were going through, what may have happened, that preceded that, like what all was it. And honestly, I catch myself thinking like, is it really even a reason worth, killing yourself over, basic? Basically, is it a good enough reason? And I don't think that there is any good reason to do it. Let me just say that I'm not advocating for it.
Hmm.
I do understand sometimes where people may not possess those certain skills, whether it be stress relief or they feel like they don't have an outlet. I get where they feel like that it may be it, but it's becoming too prevalent. I can say that.
And that's what brings us here. So if you're just joining, we're talking about the alarming numbers that are happening with young people taking their own lives. And my brother Kenny, he says praying for you. This is the heart of this marriage. This is my brother, So my heart, my prayers are with you, my brother, for sure. And definitely get back soon. But take care of yourself. Take care of your family. We love you. We love you and miss you. Uh, Brother Antoine, thank you for popping in, my brother. We love you, appreciate your support as well. And so I hope that I know this is not a glamorous topic, but
Yeah.
it's one that a conversation we need to have. And even my platform, it's not necessarily always geared towards young people. So you might say, well, why am I doing this when the demographic of my show? Because guess what? We all have kids or younger brothers and sisters or know young people, and so for a long time, I used to pride myself on feeling like I was connected to young people. And a couple of things happened that really made me realize just how much I've drifted away from knowing young people as well. And so you're so right, Antoine. This is something we got to start talking about more often. Um, Kendrick Lamar released a recent video, and I posted the video on my page,
Yeah.
today. And while it has some artistic value to it because he does this thing called deep fake or whatever, where he morphs into various different people: Will Smith, O.J. Simpson, Jussie Smollett, and blah blah blah. And that's great because it's a nice homage to Michael Jackson's Black or White. But you know what I posted as I watched the video, and I watched it twice? I don't get it. Now I'm 54 years old, and so I don't get it. And it's the way he started off and the way he looked. And I posted, and I wasn't trying to be funny. It gave me this whole crackhead vibe, you know. And so I realized I just really don't, even the rapping and the cadence and everything. I don't get it. Now, Tasha, you're younger than I am at 33. Maybe you can connect to what's going on better than I can. I don't know.
I For me, for him as the artist, I've never been able to connect to him. I saw the video, I watched it. I Like you said, I get what he was trying to do, and I get, like he's one of those that's very, deep, very intellectual, but I I got nothing from it either. So again, I don't think it was geared towards my age either. I think
Wow.
it's even younger.
I'm glad you said that. So, guess what I'm going to do, guys? And if you're tuning in, I'm going to read the letter from Arlena Miller. I'm going to read it in its entirety. I think it's important that we at least hear in her own words what she was going through minutes, minutes before she took her own life. So, I'm going to read this letter and bear with me. This is a young lady who took her own life. She says, "May this day bring me rest and peace. I have fought this urge since my early teenage years. I gave this life all the fight I had. To everyone who has entered my life, I'm so grateful, and I can only imagine how this may find you. I have been surrounded by people who may have honestly thought that I was okay, but I haven't been okay for a while. I struggled so much through just this year alone, from COVID to tearing my ACL to nearly failing all my classes. To the people in my life, I pray you learn to vocalize your feelings and get help always. I failed at that, and I'm afraid it's too late. Mom, thank you so much. I pray you know I'm at rest now. You would have given anything to see me happy. You have given everything to see me happy. I'm happy in the water where everything is still and peaceful. I have written so many suicide notes in my life, but finally I've reached my end. I hope this teaches everyone to check on your strong friends. Be present always. I'm contradicting myself, but never give up. I know that I'm letting a lot of people down by what I'm about to do, but truth is, I've already let down so many people throughout my life, and it just feels unbearable. I've lost my connection to God. The devil seems to have won, and that's okay. I blame no one for this. I thank everyone for all they've done, and I'm sorry. I'm so, so sorry. But thinking about how everyone else would feel about my death is not enough either. I've tried to please and make everyone else happy my entire life. I've been dead inside for too long. To everyone I love, just remember that this is not your fault, and I pray you don't find guilt in my situation. To my granddad, I wish you were here to tell me I'm being stupid, to tell me it's not worth it, but you've left me and found your own peace. I've always been stubborn and prideful, just like you. I always dreamed of becoming so many things that I am today, but they just aren't enough. I'm not enough. I haven't felt enough for a while, but I say all this to say I'm done fighting. My battle is over, and I pray everyone finds peace in that. Have you ever, have you ever heard somebody pour out their life in that way, Tasha?
Never, never in that way. But there's a lot of things that you can tell, other than what she stated from that, from that note, based on how it's written and how clear it is. You can definitely tell. Yeah, she's written that a few times.
Right.
But but again, it's with those letters and stuff like that. It only brings more questions.
Whew.
It's kind of like, what what are you want to shake that person because you want to know, like, what could be so wrong, what is so wrong that you have to hide it, that you couldn't tell anybody about it, no one, but you knew how they would, like, you knew how they would feel and everything behind it. I don't know, it's where she may feel like she's at peace, or people, that are in this situation, when they reach their breaking point, when they reach their end, their weakest point, where yes, it brings them closure. It does the direct opposite for people who, truly love them and care about them.
And that's the thing. But she even acknowledged that. So I like that you said that it's clear she's rehearsed. That letter was so lucid and so clear and so
Hmm.
she articulated herself so clearly. This wasn't something that she just got up and wrote right then. She's been in pain a long time. And Antoine, you're right. Mental health is real. It's real, and people are crying out for help. She alluded to it in that letter, that to check on people that you think are strong, because we have this idea that, oh my God, this person can handle everything and they will never do something so callous and, thoughtless and selfish as taking their own life. But you're right, Brother Kenny. It's heartbreaking, but I like that last part about relating to it. I've talked about that myself.
Hmm.
Now, I would like to believe that I'm strong, but I told Tasha this. Tasha's my very best friend on this planet, and she knows that I talked about this.
Hmm.
I would like to think I would never do it, but I understand where somebody could get to a place to think, I just don't want to be here anymore. And I felt that. I felt that more times than you could know. And what's crazy is I felt that even recently. I live in a beautiful apartment. I live in the most prestigious area of Atlanta. I live in Buckhead, and a building that people can't ordinarily get into. Tasha knows this, in the
Hmm.
area where they all want to be, and this and that. And this building is supposed to be so great and all this kind of stuff. And not too long ago, I was riding one Saturday, and this whole melancholy feeling came across me where I'm financially okay. I have transportation. My family is okay, and And I felt an overwhelming sense of sadness and loneliness. And I said to myself, I could see laying down and not waking up. And I talked to Tasha about that. And so, to your point, Antoine, we do wear a lot of masks because the people that see and know me, I'm pretty much always happy, go lucky, I can handle everything. But even the strongest people can be hurting inside and screaming out for help. And so we're going to talk about this, that if this happens to somebody like me, with all that I have and things I think I've lived for, what about young people? So I got a question. We're going to examine a few questions here. So my first question is, Tasha, how soon do you think we should talk to young people about death? Because the old fashioned thinking, the antiquated way of thinking is young people don't understand death anyway. So what age group do you think we we should be looking at when it comes to talking about things like death and suicide?
You, oh, though, well, that's you would, as far as death and stuff. I mean, you could talk to, like little kids about it, but are we talking about as far as like understanding,
Yeah, I mean,
talking
this
and comprehending it, so then they truly like understand it? I mean, because you could tell a 4-year old, but I mean, or do they really understand it?
I agree. I
You
don't
know?
have the answers. So that's why, to your mind and thinking, what do you think is the age group that we should start having a conversation about this?
Honestly, I think 7. I think 7 to 9. As soon, and the only reason why I say that is because as soon as kids are in school, not just daycare, but as soon as they're in school to where they're, and again, I'm thinking about the age where they may understand it, to
Right?
where their peers will start having some sort of influence on them, because that's the other thing too. You have to consider, like, sometimes people may be crying out, but they're crying out to the wrong people, because it's somebody who they're telling that can't do anything about it, or is going to ignore it themselves. So I'd probably say, first grade. I mean, think about it. We've seen, over the last 10 years, you've seen an uptick, like, of even smaller children, younger children committing suicide, whether it be something that they saw online, that they discussed in a group, and they had like a little pack going on. But I do think it's something, start young.
Antoine agrees with you. He said he agrees with you. And you talked about telling the wrong person. So, Antoine, he says that we have to have a safe haven where we can talk to somebody. We need to provide that for our children. Antoine, you talked about bullying, and we're going to talk
Mhm.
about that here in a second because that's one of the causes of it. Brother Ken says, I was going to say 7 too, dealing with that right now with my granddaughter. She's 7. So I want to share some information with you, just so that we can have some thoughts from this, as this is happening. So many young people, and this is talking about somebody that 8 years old that said I wanted to kill myself. But I'm going to give you numbers. It says this talks about this is a high school teacher says that they have protocols in place at Jefferson Elementary School in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. I've been to Cape Girardeau. And this teacher says that in 2016, they already had school suicide protocols in place to help any kids who wanted to express a desire to hurt themselves and that they can get help. And the teacher says that in the first year, she only had to use this once or twice. Now in 2022, she says that about one student per month in her pre-K through fifth grade school tells her that they want to die.
Why? Like, I truly, and I know it may not provide it there, but I want to know why.
We're
I
gonna
understand.
we're gonna exact. We don't. I promise you. Hold on for a second, because I want to share some more things with you that came out in numbers. Numbers don't lie. There's a study here done by psychiatrists from the CDC This is from the Centers for Disease Control. It says the number of children aged 6 to 12 who visited children's hospitals for suicidal thoughts or self-harm has more than doubled since 2016. More than doubled. The association documented 5,485 emergency room or inpatient visits for suicidal thoughts and self-harm, get this, among 6 to 12-year-olds. And that number is up over 2,555. The number continues to rise. It says that, by 2019, the rate was rising up to 44%. And we don't know why. These are pre-K kids, 6 to 12, who are talking about self-harm and killing themselves. What do you think about this?
That is alarming, because again, like I said, just what could be so wrong? I can understand. I could almost understand it if it was due to bullying, or because ours. I'm looking at it from a 33-year-old and my scheme of problems and what I
Right,
would think that I
right,
can't handle.
right.
But you try to go back, I mean, that's their whole world. They're 7 and school is their whole world, their friends are their whole world. But still, what could be so bad that even that would be like a thought that comes in your mind?
You know, Reps, appreciate you tuning in, sweetheart. Thank you for the support. You're right. This is saddening. It's staggering. Reps says that I hope all is well. Thank you. This is a heavy topic. Absolutely. Antoine says that he talks to his kids about it. If you got children, I hope you're getting something out of this. Tyra, she says, our young people live the Burger King life. Have it your way. Therefore, when obstacles come, it's hard for them to handle because they can barely experience real struggles. You're right. And so we're going to endeavor to get to the heart of what we might be able to do to curtail some of this, because it is so alarming. So let's talk about why maybe some of this is happening. Here's one thing I want to bring up, and maybe nobody has thought about this yet. What do we think about the effect that the pandemic has had on young people's ability to cope? Tasha, you and I have talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about when the pandemic hit, what do you think has changed? And even do you think this has had an effect on young people's ability to cope?
I do think it has affected them, and of course, like it's negative. It's not in a good way, because if they were struggling before this, and like the survey or the information that you had that pointed out, that was according to a 2016 study. So this was before that. When the pandemic did hit, you did see videos of people trying to express the information to their kids that they can't go back to school, that they can't, that you can't do this. So couple that with everything else that may have been going on just within their own household, parents losing their jobs, the parents always their siblings, or, if it's an unhealthy household. So absolutely, it probably increased it greatly. But then again, you can't really even fault that, because like I said, the studies were saying all the way back from 2016. So how much has the pandemic really affected it?
So I want to throw something out there that came up, and Rep says she's agreed with you, Tasha, related to the pandemic, that we might need to give some serious thought to. It says now mental health experts fear that the pandemic, which has increased anxiety and depression among adults and teenagers and resulted in an estimated 37,300 children, get this, losing a parent to COVID-19, and how this can compound the issues young children already face. Let me repeat that. 37,300 children losing a parent to COVID-19. Now, here's what I can tell you. Those numbers are higher.
Mm-hmm.
We know those numbers are low. So think about that for a second. When the pandemic hit and we were forced to go in home, and all of a sudden, how many kids have lost the parent? And it says little kids have essentially lost a year of socialization. And this is a study done by the American Association of Suicidology. I didn't even know there was such a place. I didn't even know there was such a thing. But it's talking about how in the past year has brought more public awareness to young mental health, and advocating, calling for more research into the problem scope and causes, because these numbers are actually underreported. They're actually underreported. That's crazy. But when you think about it, it actually makes sense, because you're talking about a young demographic that already probably aren't learning the proper social skills anyway. Because
Exactly.
Tasha, no, you know where I'm going with this, because they're coming from broken homes and they're being brought up on television and TV and videos and things. And all of a sudden now they're locked down in a situation where now those socialization skills, as poor as they are being challenged and stressed even more. And we said something when the pandemic hit, Tasha, that we didn't think about in terms of affecting this. We joked and said that you better damn well like who you got to be shut in with. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Everybody in that house.
you know. But we were thinking, I was thinking, I want to put thoughts in your head. I was thinking in terms of just adults, you know what I'm saying, getting along. If I got a woman, if I got a woman that I really, really didn't want to be with all the time, and all of a sudden I'm stuck in a house with her, that's stressful. You know, if you're cheating and creeping and all of those things, and all of a sudden now you're locked down, but you know who I didn't think about at the time? The effect that this would have on the kids. That the effect that this would have on the kids. What's going on, brother Lamar? That's Mr. TFG himself. You know,
I
and
know
so
that
I'm
I'm
sorry. Go
sorry.
ahead, Tasha.
No, I
No,
just want to
please.
interject this where I know that we're primarily focused on the young, but you also, that stress had to come from somewhere. And when you have 30, 40, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, Naomi Judd, 70-year-old people who can't even cope, with stress or the everyday obstacles that you come in contact with. So yeah, that stress got passed down from each person until it was the youngest one in the household, it seems like.
Absolutely. And so to that point, who's paying attention to that young group? Because if let's be honest now, I come from a generation where you're supposed to be seen and not heard. So that age group, you don't have a voice.
Well, even in I think about mine, there's a 20-year age difference. And I remember, like, that's when they really started talking about it in schools with suicide. And a lot of depending on where you went and who you're around, a lot of the advice is you better pray about it.
But so when you
So,
think so, and you're 20 years younger than I am,
right.
so even your age group is being told you don't really have, you better pray about it.
Better pray about it.
So
Yeah.
guess what, folks? We got to rethink this then. And so that age group, you got to stop and listen, because we may not be paying enough attention to hear their cries. And now let's go to what Antoine alluded to earlier as one of the major causes for that age group in particular, feeling like, I don't want to be here anymore. The effects of online bullying. And let me start by first saying this. I've been wrong. For a long time, I've been advocating that, well, these kids are just weak. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're just weak. That in my day, we talked about each other like, oh my God, we talked about each other's mothers, about each other's houses. If you had something going on with your parents, it got lit up. I was in that age group, I was called booty lips. Big old lips, and had a skinny body and lanky arms. And oh my God, I got talked about every day. And you had to fight back with, down south, they call it playing the dozens. Up north, it was called you snapping, you know. And so for a long time, I talked about turn the damn computer off, turn your phone off. You know, if somebody's bullying you online, but I've been wrong. And and I'll let you talk. I'm gonna tell you why I realized I've been wrong. But Tasha, what do you think about online bullying and its effect on causing these young people to feel like I don't want to be here no more?
They definitely aren't equipped with being able to understand that not everyone is going to like you. Um, Even something that adults on social media can't understand, that people are going to talk about you. Whatever you post online, they're going to talk about you. Unfortunately, we live in this day and age now where everything is online. You go viral, whatever it is, and people are going to express their opinions. And we know children are cruel. If you really want the truth about something, ask some kids.
Woo!
Children are
Woo!
mean. And with online bullying and the levels, there's levels to it now of how, because they're not thinking about the long-term effects of it. They're just thinking about just right then.
Absolutely.
So
A-
I can see, I'm curious to see like what your reasons are, but yeah, it's not as easy as we think.
Absolutely. I want to share a couple of comments. Antoine, you say even in the church they don't discuss mental health. You're right. They discuss everything but mental health, and I think it's time that we start bringing this up everywhere. Everywhere. It's crucial. Tyra says teachers are starting training in this area due to the rise of suicidal thoughts, attempts, and the after. Absolutely, which is a great thing. And again, we're not even going to talk about the amount of stress and strain that teachers are under because they're stuck in a classroom with 20, 30, 40 kids that haven't been properly trained at home, and now they're thrust upon this teachers, this professional, and they're supposed to be stuck with them for 7, 8 hours in a day. That's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother thing. But I'm gonna tell you why I realized that I've been wrong in my thoughts. Counselors point to online bullying and an increased use of social media starting at a young age. More children are getting their first cell phone in elementary school and they stay up late checking it, counselors said. When I read that one statement, it made me rethink my position because as an adult and a professional at that, what's the first thing we reach for in the morning and almost the last thing we look at night?
Our phones.
Our phones. In fact, that just came from vacation. And my brother, who's 63 years old, he's retired, and he's just now discovered TikTok at 63 years old. And he can't put that phone down. And he talks about how much it makes them laugh and he's exposing them to this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I know some of you out there can relate. I find myself getting in bed and I look up and 2 hours have gone by because I'm TikToking. God damn it. You know what I'm saying? I'm on that TikToking away. And without even realizing it, I spend more time now on my phone looking at things than I do looking at TV. TV's on right now. And when I read this about the advent of the proliferation of cell phones in the hands of these young kids, we're past discussing whether they should have them or not.
Mhm.
We already lost that argument. You know, 10 years ago, I brought that argument up. They shouldn't have a cell phone. But cell phones now are what, Tasha, like giving somebody a lunchbox or something?
Right.
You know, the cell phone carriers have made it convenient for every household member to have a cell phone. And so when you think about that age group, they're already away from home, because we only have so many hours to be with them. And they're exposed. You talked about it earlier, Tasha, sharing their thoughts and feelings with other individuals in that age group who can't help them. Now they've got this device in their hand that has become so important to them. And we know that even as adults, how attached grown people are to likes.
You know, you think about when you were younger, before the cell phone, before social media, if you were getting bullied at a certain school or whatever, and if your parents had the means or you lived somewhere, you could just switch schools, because 9 times out of 10, whatever you were being bullied for, people at the other school don't even know you. But there, with the online media, there is no escaping it. All it takes is someone for you just to share, just a little bit of information, your Facebook page, whatever it is. If you even volunteer that information, everything is online now.
Bam, you walk right into the effects of social media and technology. And that is where, again, I realized that they don't have an escape. That is what made me realize they don't have escape. These young people, their identity is so closely tied up into their social media platform identity, rather, and the technology available now is that's how they communicate with each other. If you don't believe me, go look at that group. In my group, my day, like you said, Tasha, my mother said, go outside and play. The last thing in the world you wanted to do was be cooped inside and stuck on the phone or watching TV or any of that kind of stuff. We went out and we played all day and we hated to come in. But you know what I see with that young group? Even if you put them in a room together with each other, that whole 7 to 12-year-old group, guess what they're doing? They're on their phones.
It's so sad. Their entire self-worth is reduced to likes. And
Unreal.
that's why it's so important to them, because it's all about the likes, and how many people, how many friends you got, how, like how many people liked your post, or did your people, like your closest friends, like your post.
Absolutely. And then we alluded to TikToking earlier, which my brother, 63-year-old, just discovered it. Especially during the pandemic is when I really noticed it. Do you notice how many young people are TikToking and performing dances and things like that? And it's become a thing now where they do that more than go outside and play. They're spending countless hours inside perfecting a dance or a funny routine for a 30-second video. And it's so crucial that somebody like what they're doing. And again, I know of grown people that if they post what they had for dinner and how great their marriage is, and they want to showcase themselves, driving and riding and this and that. And these are adults who are supposed to be able to adapt and adjust and cope. How much worse it is for these young kids who are not prepared when a number of people said you're ugly. That's just stupid. And that's compounded with the comments. Tasha, you can speak to this more than I can. When I look at videos and stuff, I actually don't read the comments most of the time. You always tell me you get a bigger kick about reading the comments.
You do.
And so I started to do that, and it blows me away when you say about the brutality and honesty of young people and what
Mhm.
they will say to one another. And guess what I read? And I will hear them say, you should kill yourself.
Yeah.
They actually say that to each other. Why don't you kill yourself? You're so dumb. Why don't you go kill yourself? And so you see these young girls who get exposed and tricked into doing different things. And now what they've done is out there for all the world to see. And now a bunch of people are piling on saying, you should kill yourself. You're never going to recover from this. And so the effects of social media and technology, they can't run from it like we can. In my day, you know, only people really in my world was people on my block, my
Right.
little core group. But now these young people in this demographic, the people they deal with living another country, another state. Think about the video games they play and they have the headsets on, you know, they can be bullied by somebody who lives in another country.
Mhm.
So for them, the world has shrunk, and it's important to them that they be liked. And let's talk about another effect that can play a major role in these young people deciding that I don't want to be here anymore. What effect do you think finance and poverty plays in young people's ability to cope with life?
That's major because, as we were just saying, because so much is all about the physical. So by not having the latest clothes, or
Woo!
even people looking your backgrounds on videos and stuff, so looking at people's living situations, like their houses and stuff. Absolutely. Where
Let me
you would think of something of I think this is like a common reason for like older grown people, that's a reason. But yeah, even this is affecting the children too.
Absolutely. Let me read something to you, Big Mac, and for anybody watching that I think can kind of shed some light on this. It says for children of immigrant families, one clinician noted the toll of changes to immigration policy in recent years. A 2018 study based on interviews with more than 200 Latino parents found both adults and children in their families had higher levels of anxiety due to fears of deportation and anti immigration rhetoric. Poverty has had a major impact too, experts say. For the percentage of children eligible for free or reduced price lunch jumped to 52% from 38% over the past 2 decades. And if housing is unstable, if there is food instability, that all contributes to anxiety and stress, even for students as young as 7 and 8. One study last year analyzing more than 11,000 and 10-year-olds in the US found that 1.3% reported they had tried to kill themselves, while 9.1% reported engaging in self harm. It also concluded that family conflict and financial adversity were the significant causes associated with suicidal thoughts in these children. Think about that. Think about that. And I'm gonna tell you a story and how I saw the effects of poverty and financing up close. During my undergrad, I was teaching at a charter school in Memphis, Mace. Shout out to Mace, you know. so so I'm teaching there, doing undergrad, and I had some kids in there that I absolutely wanted to strangle. Absolutely wanted to kill these kids because these were the most undisciplined, chaotic kids that were coming in, and there was one boy in particular, and I actually, as close as I could come to hating a child, I hated this kid. A young boy. I mean, just the worst, acting out, screaming. He wouldn't sit still, just ridiculous. I envisioned pushing him out of the window. We was on the third floor. And I truly envisioned pushing this kid out of the third floor.
Oh my gosh.
And then a funny thing happened. He's in my class for a couple of weeks and everything. And then there was a free period, one period, and I went into another classroom where he was at. And I sat behind all of the kids. I was in another teacher's class, and this little fucker was sitting there, and I'm looking at him with all of the hate that I could muster. But I was in the background, so they didn't pay attention to me. And I heard him talking to another student, and another student was asking this young man about what he was going to do. And he was telling his friends, he said, well, shit, we ain't got no lights, so I got to grab these lunches and take home to my little sisters. I said, now, okay. Then they started teasing this young boy about that his mom was on crack and everything. And he was fighting back with his comments, teasing back and everything. Well, your aunt do drugs too, but and it was in this moment I began to realize the more that they talked, they were talking about a situation, and it kind of got serious at one point. And the other people was like, "Nah, I got you, man. Blah blah blah. You can come do your homework over my place. I know y'all like." And it hit me like a ton of bricks. This young boy is coming to school every day, acting a pure damn fool. But this is the one place where he can actually be a kid.
Hmm.
Because when he leave this building every day, he facing grown folks problems, y'all. He got two younger sisters that he's stealing food to make sure that he get home that they can eat. That a mother is out there selling herself. You hear this shit in the movies, but this was really all being laid out in front of me about what he's going home to. And I'm thinking to myself, when I leave here, I'm going home to lights, air conditioning, food, comforts. Can you imagine the conditions that he's going home to? And so when I think about the effects of finance and poverty might have, how many of these young people, like you said, who likes is so important to them, you said it, Tasha, they can't wear the latest fashions. They can't have the latest technology. It's important to them to have these things, and they just can't afford it. And, so whether it's Latinos and immigration, you know, or just somebody who can't afford to have things that they deem as normal because the TikTok videos and show these things is all important that everybody has them. And that's another level of stress that these kids say that they just can't cope and they don't see a way out.
Well, they don't have an adult telling them that it's not for them to worry about.
Yep.
They don't have
Absolutely.
anyone, like you said, where he's coming to school and being a kid there. At home, they don't have anyone allowing them to be the kids. They got to be the adults.
Absolutely. And so, Antoine, you're right. They don't have the communication skills or the survival skills that many of us had, to where growing up poor was normalized, if I should say it that way. And we were taught to cope, that this is what you're going to eat for dinner. You can't have this and you can't have that. And it didn't break you. But they don't live in that world. And so these young kids, they just don't have the ability to cope with it, and they're looking to give up. Which brings me to the last area that we'll talk about is the generational gap effect, you know, because since 9/11, I was looking up, and I always have to ask Tasha, talk about the two sides of what millennials are, because you
So
always say that. I'll let you explain it.
so there's so the millennial group technically runs from 1981 to like 1996, but there is a distinct difference with people who were born and raised between 1981 and I would even say 1989, maybe 1990. Those groups are different. The people in those groups are different, because you can see where the older ones, they also had probably some older parents. Now, the younger ones in that generation, they start to have younger parents, so you can see like the differences in how they were raised and the things that they say and how they act. But there's a distinct difference in millennials.
And I'm glad you pointed that out. And that's we're coming back full circle to the letter I read at the beginning about a young lady, Arlena. So I want to read some things from this article because I want the audience to see that we're not only talking about little kids here, that this funky age group of millennials, how it affects them as well. And this is an article called Why Suicide Rates Among Millennials Are Rising.
Hmm.
So, in a report published last year by the Stanford Center on Poverty and Inequality, the economists Mark Dugan and Jackie Lee found that mortality rates for people from ages 25 to 34 had risen by more than 20% since 2008. That is, mortality rates among millennials aged 20 to 34 was substantially higher in 2016 than among their counterparts from Generation X when they were the same age exactly 16 years earlier. Another report from the Trust for America's Health last year found that drug related deaths among people aged 18 to 34 more than doubled from 2007 to 2017, while alcohol related deaths rose 69% and suicides by 35%. So, in a 10-year period, those are the numbers we're talking about. And here is another kicker to this: the tendency towards premature death has been especially pronounced among millennials, who, like Taylor, never earned a college degree. In 2017, white people without a bachelor's degree born in 1980 were 4 times more likely to die by suicide than those with a college degree. I want to repeat that. White people without a bachelor's degree born in 1980 were 4 times more likely to die by suicide than those with a college degree. White people in their 20s and 30s are dying from alcoholic liver disease, a condition that's normally associated, takes decades of hard drinking to develop. Tasha, our resident.
You're so crazy.
Yeah, but speak speak to this because you can educate us that I don't know that world. And in case the audience doesn't know, Tasha is of mixed heritage. She has a white mother and a black father. And so I wanted to bring this up because in case people are thinking we only talking about black people or Latinos, we are not. Tasha, speak to that.
The numbers in general, the numbers really don't surprise me because again, you think about that age group, this my age group, the Great Awakening, is when you started to begin to see like a shift like in society, honestly. But to bring it back to Tyra's point that she talked about earlier, it is, like the whole Burger King, you can have it your way, going over the top to express yourself or to suppress your feelings, or your problems because you're not living up to, possibly to some expectations that are being put on you, from your parents. Because I would think for millennials, most of their parents are going to be what, Gen X or probably
Right,
baby boomers.
right.
So you're talking about like a whole other, set of standards that some feel like that they will never be able to live up to. And so it's like, why not? Let me just do what I want to do in this time, make myself happy to, I don't even know if it's even about as much as like suppressing things, or is it just doing just what you want to do?
Can I
Like
ask you
you
a
just don't
question?
care.
Why do you think that those numbers we talked about white people without a college degree in that age group of 20 to 34, why do you think that particular group has such a high rate of suicide?
Like I said, not living up to their parents' standards.
Wow.
I would say those impossible standards of
Wow.
what they, because you hear that a lot in my generation and in my day. It wasn't like this. I tell everybody I feel like a fake adult. I do. I feel like I'm out here just perpetrating. I do. I don't feel like a real adult. So, and I think about my parents, what they were going through when they were my age. They were, married, had multiple children.
Right.
I'm not anywhere close to that. So if you're in those shoes and think about it, if you have those parents who are established, at that point, and then there's you just doing whatever you want to do, not because you have like any sort of like clear path or anything. You're just out here living. And also, what if your parents just up and decide to tell you, or telling them that they're no longer going to support their lifestyle, that
Wow.
they're going to force them, say,
Wow.
look, it's time for you to grow up.
I'm glad you brought that up. And we got to we drawing close on time. You know, um, Antoine, you said it's stressful on that young man. Absolutely, that's a different kind of stress, and I'm gonna tell you why. Tasha and I, we talk about this all the time too. In this social media world of Instagram and Facebook, Tasha, you talked about living up to expectations.
Hmm.
And what I'm about to say now, I don't mean this in a demeaning way towards African Americans, but I'm going to tell some truth here. It's called Real Talk for Real World. Unfortunately, in our culture, we celebrate mediocrity.
True.
When our young people graduate high school, we go all out. We rent limousines. We send our kids off in style when they graduate high school. Man, they get a tuxedo, they get to dress up, they get the shebang. because they're raised to think that they have really accomplished something. I got my high school diploma. Whoop, whoop, whoop. But Tasha, speak to this and you tell me if I'm lying. I went to school with mostly white kids, In white culture, you haven't done a damn thing by getting your high school diploma. You're expected to go to college. Tasha, am I lying?
No, you're not lying. I think about when I got my bachelor's, and people, were so excited about it, and I'm like, well, I thought this is what we were supposed to do.
And so, because you were raised, number one, in a two-family household, and you got a white mother, you know what I'm saying? But I'm bringing this up for a reason. The expectations, when I look at those numbers of white kids, white young people, 20 to 34 without a college degree, it is about expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would imagine that their siblings and uncles and aunts all have degrees, probably are in some profession. Because even when I look at my white counterparts, I work for white corporate America, sometimes we tend to lose sight because we live in this bubble. They have degrees. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But education is just not stressed amongst African Americans enough. And so the expectation is just not there to push our young men and women that you're supposed to get your high school diploma. You've been living rent-free for 17, 18 years. Damn it, that's the only thing you have to do is get your high school diploma. The question is now, what are you going to do next? And so we haven't made that a priority. So when I look at those numbers amongst young white people from 20 to 34, and Tasha, you talk about now maybe those parents saying, I'm not going to support you anymore. This person probably feels at that point, what am I going to stay here for? I can't live up to that. And now I'm 34 years old. My God, I'm old. It's too late for me to start now. Blah, blah, blah. And so I know we're coming to the end of this show. We're not advocating we have the answers. We're just bringing up this in conversation because it shows you there's so much more to talk about. Antoine, you says, they can't take no for a response. Absolutely. Antoine, that's a whole nother conversation. We've lost the power of no. We've raised a couple of generations, these Gen X's and Gen Y's and Z's, I should say, that they're not being told no. The world is telling them that they can have it all and you can have everything. And the TikTok videos bear it out. They don't want to live in a one-bedroom apartment and struggle. They think they're going to start out in an apartment like this.
Yep.
They think their first car is not going to be a fixer-upper. They think their first car is going to come off of the lot, brand spanking fucking new. So they're not being taught no. You're right, Antoine. And let me squeeze in your thought, Tyra. She says, I know we are talking mental health about our youth in general, but I have witnessed a lot of you struggling with their sexuality, which was absolutely. Mm-hmm. We didn't even get to that we live in the most confusing time ever in history about sexuality. The Sioux people, sue me, I don't mean this offensively, but I just don't have time to remember all the goddamn letters that you guys associate yourselves with. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, but y'all keep adding more letters, to your identities, So whether you're gay, straight, lesbian, I don't know, shit, LGP, we got so many different categories to describe your sexuality that it's confusing. If it's confusing for me and I have a fucking master's degree, how can you expect these young kids to truly understand what's going on inside their bodies? And you got parents out there that's letting, the kids lead them, so to speak, and tell them what they are.
Yep.
You're right, Tyra. We haven't scratched the surface of what this is all about. And so she put up what I guess is now the accepted way, LGBTQA plus. That's too damn much for me to remember. So look, on Real Talk for Real World, please charge it to my head, not to my heart. I don't mean it offensive, but when I say the alphabet people, Y'all know what I'm talking about, you know. And I'm an equal opportunity offender, so I talk about everybody. So don't get mad. But I don't mean that offensively. But th- you're right. Sexuality is confusing, and so look, we've hit our hour, and again, we just scratched the surface of this.
Mhm.
But I hope you get, if you don't get anything else out of this, it's a conversation that we got to start having more of. So, Tasha, before I close out, what are your thoughts as we close out? When we started talking about the heart wrenching letter from the young lady who took her own life, and she enunciated in such a clear way why she was doing it. So, what do you want to say as we close out on why giving up on life is a choice for our young people?
I, I would I would probably close it out by challenging adults. You know, these parents, because again, like we talked about it, it starts somewhere. It's getting passed on to them from the stressors like in the household. So I would challenge the parents to listen, as much as you want to, just listen. As much as it may be hard to, or you don't understand it, or for you could be like, you ain't got no reason to be upset. Just listen and try not to be judgmental about it.
I
Where
love
for
it.
you it's something that you could deal with, or you would trade places with them in a minute if that's all you have to worry about. But just listen, because they may not have anybody else. And even, okay, for adults, even people who don't have, like kids, if you have nieces, nephews, whatever, just look and just listen. Just try to have an open mind. Take yourself out of it. Just pretend like just try to pretend like it's a stranger expressing themselves to you, because I
Yep.
do think that people may internalize it, they may personalize it when it's their family, especially when it's their kids, but just try to have an open mind about it.
I love it. Thank you. I'm going to close out by saying this. When I think about why young people are giving up on life as a choice, whether we're talking about identities with sexuality, Antoine talks about the biracial part of it,
Yeah, we
as,
do.
as
We didn't
well,
even get there.
we,
Yeah, we do.
and I'm glad you said that, because you know what? This highlights that we have so many things, real issues
Mhm.
that we should be talking about when we're focused on so much fuckery and foolishness. This is an adult show, so I can say that, you know.
Right.
Um, I can say that. And so we have some real issues out there. And I hope that we can have just shedded a little bit of light on just on some of the real things we need to talk about. And so if this is your first time tuning in to Real Talk for Real Men, I'm an opinionated SOB. I talk a lot of shit, and some of it I mean and some I don't. I hope you find me on TFG TV, YouTube, and Facebook, because I want to add you to the conversation. With what Tasha just said, we're listening. I'm willing to listen. As an old bastard myself, opinionated bastard who think he knows more than he knows, help me out. Help me out. Help me understand you. Because that young lady was crying out for help. And every time I read that letter, I'm almost in tears, because I have somebody to talk to when I'm
Hmm.
feeling that way. And it's a damn shame that she talked about her granddad being gone, being that one person that may have been able to talk her out of it. If you read the letter, she said that she wished the granddad was there to tell her, "You're being stupid." But she said that he went someplace. Thank you, Tyra. I do. I appreciate your support, sweetheart.
Hmm.
And so, if you feel like you don't have somebody to talk to, you're welcome. I promise I won't judge. We'll listen. We have people here that's willing to listen. I'm definitely willing to do another show on this, Antoine. I want young people out there. I want my regular fans. If you would talk to your young people, tell them that we're not going to judge. We're going to make fun of you like we make
Yeah.
fun of everybody else. And that means we love you and you're a part of us. But I want you to know that you have some people willing to listen. Stop us, pull us away from the phones, away from the TV, away from our bullshit, and we're willing to listen. Any young people out there that get sight of this, you don't have to be my family. I'm willing to listen. I will be offline and talk to you offline. And I promise I will do my very best to understand. I want you to know that you don't have to choose giving up. There's a hell of a lot to live for. We love you. We need you. And I know a lot of times we put a lot of extra shit on your shoulders about the way it was and this and that. We need you guys to lead. And so I'm gonna stop talking about toughening you up, and I'm gonna start talking more about loving you up. The
Mm.
Kendrick Lamar video, I don't understand you guys, and that's okay. So I want you to explain it to me, and I'll set my fat mouth and I'll listen more. So I want to let you guys know that we're here. We are going to revisit this subject. It's important because we're losing way too many young people, and somebody's got to be there to help them out, to help pull them back the other way. What's up, my brother Jerry? Missed you on the show. Come on back home, my brother. And so, yeah, I just wanted to end on that note right there. And so we're going to get back to more fun things, talking about more fun things. But sometimes we have to talk about some important things, some serious things. And this is happening to our young people. And whether you're white, black, gay, straight, alphabet, whatever, we don't want you leaving here. There's a lot of life here. There's reasons for you to be here. You have a place you belong. And we do love you. And we don't want you to go anywhere. And that's a message coming from Real Talk out to all my young people out there. All right. So I want to thank everybody for popping in. I love you guys for the support, for the comments. As I said, find us on TFG Uncut. Find us on TFG Ratchet. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. Subscribe. Tell family. Tell friends. Tell young people. We need more of them and their support to bring their input to the table, because at the end of the day, we all one big family. And so I love you guys. Enjoy the rest of your week. Until we see each other again, it's been real as always. Keep loving each other up. God bless and everybody have a good night.